If Canada is going to build massive infrastructure projects, we're going to need a lot of heavy earth-moving equipment. Let's get more from Kip Eideberg, Senior VP at the Association of Equipment Manufacturers. Kip, thanks very much indeed for joining us. So you're a North American organization, US and Canada. And what do your members actually do?
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Andrew. And we are indeed a North American organization. In fact, in Canada, equipment manufacturers support 152,000 jobs. It's about a $41 billion contribution to the country's annual economy. But to your question, our members make the equipment that helps build, power, and feed not only Canada, but the world. So most of your viewers will be familiar with the sight of a tractor, of a combine, of an excavator, of a hauler, a mining truck. That's all the equipment that our member companies build here in Canada and across North America.
It's interesting. Of course, a lot of the stuff is imported, though, isn't it? Kubota, I'm thinking, I see those machines every day. But is a lot made in this country?
Well, it's a little bit of both, and certainly on the parts and components side, Canada is one of the largest suppliers of parts and components that go into that equipment, the tractors, the combines, the excavators, right? And so, it's a critical piece of the global industry. Yes. But yes, you also will see equipment manufacturers here in Canada that do build, whether it's lifting equipment for the utilities industry, whether it is combines, harvesters, tractors for the agriculture sector. So the industry across Canada is a pretty good reflection of the industry globally, which is small, mid-sized, medium, multinational, domestic and foreign companies, all making sure that we have that equipment that we need to power not just our economy, but, as I said, to build, feed, power the world.
Talk to us about one problem that you guys see here in building infrastructure and stimulating manufacturing: interprovincial barriers. The politicians talk a good game about getting rid of them. Are they a serious problem, though, interprovincial trade impediments?
Well, they are, and we do appreciate our elected officials taking steps in the right direction. The One Canadian Economy bill that passed was a good first step, but there still are massive, Andrew, barriers, interprovincial barriers to trade. So, for example, transportation regulations, product standards, professional licensing, procurement policies. And what they do, these barriers, is that they ensure that rather than accessing the full Canadian economy, whether you are a Canadian manufacturer in Manitoba, whether you're a U.S. manufacturer in Iowa or European manufacturer, they all want to access one Canadian economy. But right now they are confined to provincial economies because of these barriers that make it really challenging to make one product or to transport products across Canada. So what we really need to do here, Andrew, is we need to, yes, improve, but also standardize, harmonize these barriers, reduce them even, if you will. And the Canadian government, the federal government, estimates that if we could knock down some of these barriers, that's a $200 billion boost to the Canadian economy annually.
Are you partly up against bureaucrats in each province who jealously don't want to give up powers?
Well, there's a little bit of that. And look, we have always been very clear. We are happy to work with each provincial government as we are working with the federal government. And the way we look at this is that, look, it's an uncertain global economy right now, right? We are facing the continued pressure of tariffs. Every Canadian knows that. The uncertainty of the global economy, what's going on geopolitically, whether it's in Southeast Asia, whether it's in Europe, all of this is pressure on our industry and the Canadian economy. So one thing we can do, right, and everyone shares the same goal and objective here, let's future-proof Canada's economy. Let's strengthen our global competitiveness. One easy way to do that we can do, where we control our own destiny, is to knock down these barriers. Make it just a little bit easier to trade and to sell goods and services between the provinces. Because if we can do that, Andrew, there's no telling where this industry will go.
Can you update us? And I know it is a moving target, but U.S. President Donald Trump's tariffs, are they likely to affect more movement of this kind of equipment between Canada and the U.S.?
Well, 100%. And we've been clear with the Trump administration. Tariffs are taxes. They're taxes not only on Canadians, but on Americans and on Mexicans, right? We have invested heavily as an industry in the North American market, and we need the certainty that a trade agreement like CUSMA brings to our members here in Canada and those who have facilities across North America. So absolutely, whether we're talking about a 10% baseline tariff, 15, 25, all of that will make it more expensive to move parts, components, and finished products between the provinces, between Canada and the United States, and to customers around the world. And we're going to continue to put pressure as much as we can on all sides, but certainly working with the administration down in Washington to educate them on the benefits of trade, because it's been a boon to the U.S. economy. It's been a boon to the Canadian economy, and we need that if we want to create more jobs in Canada. And we know certainly that the U.S. president is serious about creating more jobs in the United States. We need trade. It's as simple as that. It needs to be fair, but it needs to be free.
Can you update us? Have actual tariffs been imposed on this kind of equipment? Can you give us any kind of a handle on that?
Yeah, it is a moving target, Andrew, because as you know well, there seems to be an announcement from the White House every day, if not every hour. But yes, we are currently facing tariffs now that we have been able to secure continued exemptions under the rules of CUSMA, but currently, if we are moving parts, components between Canada and the U.S., where we're facing as much as 25, 30, 35% on some parts and components. It's even higher on steel and aluminum. And I will tell you this, right? We believe, again, in free and fair trade. Could we live with a baseline tariff of 10%? We'd rather not see it, but we probably could adjust. It'd be painful, but we could. But this constant start-stop that we're seeing, tariffs today, no tariffs tomorrow, higher tariffs next week, that uncertainty, that roller coaster, that is right now the biggest challenge that we face, more so than any individual tariff, at a 10 or 15%.